Welcome to Season 4 of Soccer Over Gotham, an NWSL podcast covering New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC, hosted by Ruby Pinto and produced by Gary Gibson.
Welcome to the Soccer Over Gotham Super Team Edition Midseason Award Show 2024. We have to look forward on this one is the fan's voice. These are some of my favorite shows. Thanks to everyone who went over Gotham Pod on Twitter and made their voices heard. So first off, of the many seasons that we've been covering this team, this season, as far as these awards go, have been a bear. This is such a unique season, and I can't wait to get into it and see what the fans think. We'll first discuss a poll I never make, which is goalkeeping, because why would I? Then we will see what the fans thought was the young player of the midseason, defender of the midseason, midfielder, attacker, game changer, which is my favorite category, and midseason MVP. So, Noela, you're back with me again, which is good.
Yes.
So, team.
Long hiatus. I apologize, but I'm always the biggest fan, always listening in, and I'm just happy that we're at the midseason point already. This is crazy.
Yeah, indeed. So, this season has been a success story so far, at least according to me. This is the best start in club history. 8 wins, again, 2 away from the club record. Halfway through the season, dealing with a third of the roster out at a time. It is what it is. We're still hanging in there in 4th place. That's not too bad. We're 5 points, I think, from the top. So it's not too bad. And then the awards. First, we'll start with a poll I never make. Even though we've had 2 starting keepers, I just find polls like those they don't make sense. So let's just talk about goalkeeping. Noela, just your overall thoughts on our keeping.
I've been really, really happy to see how comfortable both Berger and Miller have been in our system, just in terms of comfortability, in terms of working with our center backs and being able to provide long outlets for both players. I'm always very impressed with the level of comfortability that keepers in the modern era of soccer have with playing out long balls, keeping possession, being an outlet for teams. And I think both Miller and Berger have been just excellent at that. So for me, as a player and an outfield player is particularly, that's always been a really impressive thing to see. Because not so long ago, right, that requirement wasn't necessary, and the way that modern football has expanded has been really nice to see.
Yeah, Cassie started off the season really well. We were still one of the lowest goals against team in the league. Cassie was excellent, and I had zero reserves about having her as the keeper going forward. 0. However, sometimes Gotham takes the approach of if it's not broken, still fix it. Yeah. So we brought in Berger, and she has been next level. And just her, again, you said she's comfortable. She's comfortable with the ball at her feet. She's comfortable everywhere, and she's just calm. She makes incredible saves, and she's really taken up the level of this team, especially with the ball at her feet. And I think the places where we've excelled with her in that, if you look at Cassie had about 75% save percentage, which is fine, totally fine. And the things, she was actually pretty good at long ball distribution too, about 50%, so which was good. Yeah. The things that she was a little bit lacking in is pass accuracy and high claims. So she was not winning a lot of balls that were coming through on crosses and stuff like that. But Berger has excelled there. She is the top in save percentage. She's one of the top in clean sheets. She's had 0 errors that led to goals. She's one of the top high claims in the league. So if you're getting a ball in the air from across, she's going to get it 99% of the time. She's been incredible on her accurate long balls, and her long ball accuracy is almost at 50%, which is pretty good considering how often she is trying to break lines. So we've gotten better in some areas, and it's been a pleasure. She's been. We'll get to her when it gets to the MVP voting. But any other thoughts before we move on?
Just really quickly, I think it might have been a shock, I guess, for us who are just watching these games, and we've seen Miller do well the first couple of games. But I think every practice to practice, there is an internal evaluation of, okay, how are players progressing, who's excelling, who's kind of progressing in a state where, oh, you know what, they might actually fit a lot better for this next game. And I wouldn't be surprised if Berger just had been showing consistent, strong showings in practices, and on Carlos Amoros' side, he's not afraid to call up players and put them in the position to work and shine. So I'm really happy for her.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things where it's like if you get a player like Berger wanting to come, or if the conversations are there, you kind of have to pull the trigger on it. Even if you have a player who's really good in the position, you can't pass up on a player like Berger. She's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Jumping over to best young player, this is a funny poll because like it's changed every season. Like the first season, Gotham actually had rookies, so we actually had like a rookie of the month, a rookie of the midseason, and rookie at the end of the year. Then the second year, we had like just Jenna, right? So we couldn't just do Jenna. So I was like, all right, let's make it like an under 25 poll. And then this year, we got a couple players under 23. But next season, I think Bernini will be the only player under 23. So Gotham's either got to get some rookies or I'm going to have to change the rules again. But last season, in the midseason awards, Neiswanger and Bernina were nearly tied. It was 48% Neiswanger and 40% Bernina. They both were flying last season. And this season, it is all Jenna Neiswanger at 87.6%. Bernina is down to 7.9%, and Bell only 4.5%. She's picking up, but she'll get there. But yeah, it's Neiswanger. Any thoughts?
No reaction here. I think, or no, like dissenting reaction, I guess is what I mean to say. I think very much fans are spot on. As I was saying earlier in the episode, Neiswanger has just been undoubtedly the most confident I think I've seen her like so far in her young career. Like it's been really, really exciting to see her just come back, even from just being called up for the friendlies for South Korea recently. Like she's just so much more comfortable and she knows her role, she knows her positioning, and it's been really, really exciting to see. So I'm just happy and excited for her continued progression.
Yes, what a like a rocket ship she's been on. Just from jumping into this team, going from a 10 to a left back, which is crazy. And then she picked up the offensive side of the game really quickly, and she was building the back end of her game. Then to get called to win a championship, to get called into the national team, and then it's looking like that position is hers for years and years to come because it seems to be like she's one of the best in the world right now. And yeah, it's just awesome. And I can't wait to get to know her as a person soon. We're going to interview her soon. I promise,
Woo!
guys. But one of the favorite moments of the season so far was the first game that Jenna came back from injury from the national team. She stepped onto the field, and that arena went crazy.
I remember.
It's good to see that she's just a fan favorite, and everyone likes her. She seems to be a good person. So yeah, we're just super happy for her. She's a stat machine. And let's jump over to best defender. Now, last season, Krieger won all the awards last season, so there's no there's no question on that.
This is the Krieger show.
Yeah, it was the Krieger show. And so she was 64%. Bernina was 27%, and Neiswanger only 6%. So this season, the top defender is Emily Sonnet at 54%, Davidson at 25, Neiswanger at 18, and then Hyatt at 3.8. Just thoughts on that?
I'm in partial agreement. Agreement. Okay. I think for Sonnet, I think her transitioning into a defender has been like a strong. I mean, in terms of like going from a defensive midfielder to a center back is not a crazy jump, but it's a positional movement that does require some adjustment. So I think in that sense, I give her a ton of credit. And she has been, again, and it's fresh in my mind, like the Stengel penalty kick, where it's like the error sometimes it takes away from their work that they've done all season. So I think in terms of positionally and being asked to play a position that's hasn't, at least last season, right, like hadn't been like her primary position at all, I think is very, very commendable and speaks to her versatility as a player. I personally, I thought Tierna Davison was also a strong contender. I was kind of surprised that it was a little bit lower. Like I would have thought it would have been a little bit closer, maybe, because Davison, of course, has so many years of experience and has been, I feel like, our Krieger-esque center back. If that makes, if I can make that comparison, I don't know. I don't know what the fans will say. I'm in partial agreement. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I was actually going to make the same kind of
Oh, okay.
trepidatious comparison to Krieger, because we were going into this season. Everyone was like, "Okay, who's going to be the Ali Krieger, the captain from the back, the whole thing?" And obviously, Tierney Davidson is a tremendous player, and she's still super young. This is her first time as like a captain of a team, as far as I know. So Sonnet being able to step into the back line and then lead from the behind, and she was
Mhm.
doing those little like kind of Krieger things where you're just manipulating defenses and making them think you're going to go do one thing and it's the obvious thing, and then she just turns around and goes the other way, and you're like, okay. And in the moment you're like, that doesn't make any sense, and you're like, oh, okay, that makes total sense why she did that.
Yeah.
But so she's been a little bit like that, so it's in a way we're used to that kind of play from the back. So I think she's been great. I think it's her, but I do think I'm with you. It's a little bit shorter. I think Davison took a little while to get into the team with an injury, so maybe that's what it is. But yeah, so yeah, we agree there. But it's been like a wild start for the center backs. Like we've had so many like different pairings, and
Yeah.
but they've all been good. I mean, I think Hyatt's been fantastic, solid, and yeah, give me any one of those four between Lopez, Davidson, Sonnet, and Hyatt. I'll take any pair of those four. I'm happy with.
And that's where the chemistry comes in, right? Where it's if you trust your teammates and you correspond well with them, then it doesn't matter. You can pick and plug in different players, and the result will be hopefully the same for the most part.
So, question for you:
Ooh, okay.
Who is your right back?
Ooh, I very much do miss Bruninha. I will be honest. I think, and maybe perhaps this is also my, uh, I don't know. I was gonna say bias, but I'm not really sure. I don't
It's
know
a bit
what
of
my
a
bias would be. I think she just had such an excellent season last year, and I know she's. I don't know. I think Macy Bell I know has been also plugged in there a couple of times, and she has the right side, right? You had said
Mhm.
Macy on the left side, or she was on the right side, right?
Yeah, on the right side. Yeah.
So I mean, again, another good player that I think has the technicality of progressing in the ball, dribbling up, getting those crossing and positioning in. I don't know. I miss bringing it. Maybe I'm just being nostalgic. I don't know.
I'm with you on Bernina. I don't know. I don't know what she's missing that she's not getting. Maybe just she just thinks that everyone else needs minutes and that he wants to get the minutes, and that just happens to be at her expense. Could be that, but maybe it's a defensive thing that she's obviously more attacking minded than Freeman and Bell would be. So maybe
Yeah,
that's the key, the thing. But I don't know. I do miss Bernina on the field. So
and that's actually a really good point that I hadn't even. Now that you say it, I'm like, oh, of course. When you have two extremely attacking fullbacks or like wingbacks at that point, right? It's you can leave your defense in a particularly exposed manner, which I don't think it wouldn't. I don't think it'd be too terribly off system, but I can understand why there would be more of a wanting to let Jenna kind of go out more aggressively if she knows that okay, my other fullback on the other side is going to be a little more defensive minded.
yeah, and Gotham's been a little bit more defensive minded this season. They're still high pressing, not as much, but they're
Mhm.
doing. I feel like they're doing more with the ball, especially out of the back, and maybe that's a consideration too. Who knows? But yeah, that's a tough one. It's a tough one, especially with her probably going to the Olympics. Another tough one.
That's another good point. Yeah.
Let's jump over to midfielder of the mid-season. We have last season. This is kind of interesting. We had three players: Long, Fairley, and Mewis. None of which are on our current roster. Well, Fairley with her
Crazy.
season-ending injury, but this season, Mewis won last season. Then Lavelle runs away with it 60% this season over Martin, Ryan, and Sheehan. What do you think?
I think she's very much deserving of our mid-season award.
Yeah,
I think in terms of just like uh, just straight statistics, 3 goals, 19 shots, 8 shots on target. Like you can't ask more of that. Like that's like I mean, me personally, I know you have thoughts about like how aggressive she's been, but I think for a midfielder of her caliber, like she is consistently going out into games and striking fear into her opponents, which is more than you can ask of any type of midfielder.
Yeah, I 1000% agree with you. I think when Rose is on the field, it's obvious that she is on another level, right? So it's you have Sheehan, Martin, and Ryan who are fantastic players, and they are
Yes.
starters in this league, the whole thing. But there's just something special about Rose, and I feel like this poll was more like, again, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, because she had obviously wasn't there for the beginning part of the season, but
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
if she's on the field, it's hers. It's just
Here's the take.
she's just special. And I agree with you 1000% that she has been a two-way player more than I've ever seen her play. She's got such an aggression to get back on defense. She's sitting deeper than she normally is. She's usually up higher to the right, or it's maybe in the more the attacking midfielder position. But she's been sitting almost as like a like an 8, and she's been dropping back, and she's getting a lot of recoveries. It's very impressive, but also, again, we've said this on the show, but like makes you nervous because she's going so hard into these tackles. You're like, just don't get hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
The words that must not be spoken.
Yeah, indeed. So, who is your starting 3 midfielders right now?
Oh, that's a great question.
Mhm.
I very much liked, and I know Ryan had played a different position this past week, but I actually really, really like Lavelle, Sheehan, and Martin together in that midfield positioning. I think Ryan also can be pick and plugged into that spot as well. Again, another unsung hero. I feel like in the polling, of course, Rose kind of skews everyone else's, but I think Ryan has also had such a great, her vision, her passing ability, her creativity is just so strong as well. I think maybe now I'm convincing myself otherwise. Maybe I would have Lavelle, Ryan, and Sheehan. I don't know. Not bad. I mean, again, you can't complain if these are your options for your starting 3 midfielders. It's a pretty good season, I think.
Yeah, I like the setup we had this past game. Ryan upper, more closer to the goal, and then those 3 I think are my midfielders at this point. Now let's go down to best attacker. Last season, it was just Lynn Williams. It was Lynn Williams and Go Bats. That was the whole category, because Lynn was the only player scoring goals.
She's crazy.
So it is. And this season, if I told you going into this season that midway through the season, Williams, Purse, and Esther would not win the best attacker award, would you think I was crazy?
Yes, absolutely. I think we actually did this, right? We were I was listening back to some of the old episodes, and I had said Midge Purse, I think. It was going to be oh, man.
What a shame. But Stevens ran away with it at 78.8%. Do you possibly disagree with that?
No, of course not. Why would I disagree? I can never disagree with that. Her output has been crazy. She's been a productive forward. There's nothing more you can ask of her. We missed her heavily in the last game in terms of minutes provided, but she's run away with it well deservingly.
Yeah, she looks the part of a national teamer. She looks the part, whether she reaches there or not, but she's got all the tools. She fits in. She runs the channel. She gets on players' shoulders. She steps back. She works well with her teammates, and she's scoring goals left and right with confidence. She's at a really, really high confident level right now. I think obviously not, for the Olympics, but I think maybe if she keeps plugging away, it's in the conversation. I
have a question, actually, really quickly. Do you think maybe she should have been called up for the last pool, or maybe too soon?
No. Yeah, too soon, too short of roster.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, she's just been a revelation. And I think with Gotham forwards, you have to be able to cut back. You have to be able to step back into defense. And she's been in 97 percentile for defensive actions as a forward. Mm-hmm. So she's not only scoring goals, but she's working her butt off on the back end. It's like we talked with Lavelle. These players are impressive, how much they're fighting for each other and fighting back for defense. So the question is, now that we're here, is Stevens going to lead this team in goals at the end of the season? Is she going to do it? Be the first player to lead a Lynn Williams team in goals?
I mean, the way she started this season, I would be inclined to agree. Like I would be kind of crazy against the statistics to. I mean, it'd be like a high percent. Like I'd win a lot of money if I bid it against it. I guess because the odds are so low.
Yeah.
But I think so. I think she's found her rhythm. I think she has found a way to really work well with whoever the midfield three are in terms of like connecting and opening her body and being able to receive some of these balls that they're providing. And I'm excited for her.
Yeah. I will never bet against Lynn Williams until the last day.
Fair.
Until
Yeah, okay.
last game.
Very fair.
So, yes. All right, on to game changer. So last season, Zerboni, Martin, Jean, and Sheehan. It's an interesting mix of players. And this year, well, Sheehan won last year at 51%. She was a standout player last season. And now Sheehan and Martin are not game changers anymore. They're starters. So they can't be in this poll. Now we have Stengel, Hyatt, and Freeman. Freeman won at 45.2%. Do you agree with this poll?
I'm happy for Mandy Freeman in terms of aside of the poll. I think just like her performances and of course even in like the last game, like you could see how strongly Juan Carlos Amaros has like such strong trust in her and is confident in her just experience and her I would say veteran level, right? Of terms of like understanding everything about building out from the back, being able to connect with the midfielders, seeing options provided on the long range. I think I'm also, I guess, it's weird. Like I appreciate a good defensive lineup, but I'm also torn because Stengel has been also a really, really great player to rely on, and I agree. Yes, I will say yes. I agree in like a nutshell answer. But I understand why also Stengel was a close-ish second. What do you think?
These are always my fun characters because there's a lot to think about. So with Hyatt, obviously she's gotten a lot of minutes and she's been solid, but I think she's been like she fits in and she's been great, but not like game changing great. I think that she's been fitting in, if that makes sense. Then with Stengel, she's had a couple moments where she's changed games and she's been working really hard and she's doing really well. But I just think Freeman has put her stamp on 2 games at least. Where like, okay, without her, that game is completely different. And I think she changed the game, especially with the crossover to Stevens, who put the ball in the back of the net. She put a couple of beautiful crosses. So in that aspect, I agree with Freeman. And I agree with you 100%. Manny's a player that you just want to root for. She's an awesome person, and she's Gotham through and through. And yeah, we want the best for her, and hopefully she's here forever. But
agreed 100%.
Yeah. All right. So question for you. Who needs more minutes? Who do you want to see as a game changer at the end of the season who's not there now?
Oh, I feel like I kind of spoiled it a little bit, like in terms of just like Bruninho. But Mandy Freeman actually makes a really good case for herself as well in terms of her vision on the field and her, I think her strengths correspond really well with the back lineup. So I can see her, especially after the last game, right? Like earning more minutes and saying, you know what, I deserve to be on the field. I should be more of a rotational player at least. So
players that we haven't seen, because we've seen most players because everyone else is injured. I would say obviously Torres is starting to make a little bit of a case. She's starting to get a little more minutes, so hopefully I would just want to see her on this list. But I would also want to see Kristen Edmonds get back on the field again. Where is she?
Yeah,
she needs to be on this field. So get her back. Especially we're going to need her with these crazy tournaments, this mid-season stuff.
I think also, correct me if I'm wrong, she hasn't been in any games, right? Like 0 appearances.
Yeah. We need her.
Which is weird also to see from like a coach like Amaros, who is so like intentional in terms, I think, of like rotating players. So.
Yeah, she's been injured. Is what it is.
Yeah.
Now let's jump over to MVP. Last season, this is actually surprising. I think this was shocking when I saw the results of this poll. But mid-season of last season, Krieger actually did not win a poll that she was in, which is insane to me. Because Krieger rolls deep with her fans. So 23%, and Williams with 57%, because this was Williams keeping us afloat by scoring all these late goals and all those things. And then this season, it's Berger at 48.3%, Stevens at 21, Nicewanger at 7.5, which shocks me. 23.1% for Sonnet. Your thoughts?
I think Berger's made a very, very strong case for herself. I think she's entered into the lineup and she's taken it by storm. She's been a commanding presence. She's been solid. I think all her teammates can depend on her. And I think that's also like necessary, right? Of a most valuable player, that's someone that your teammates can look towards you and say, okay, you are, whatever the case scenario will be, right? Like you will come up for us. And her numbers prove that, right? So I think well deserved. I think fans are spot on. She's just been really, really great to watch and root for, and you know, I think hopefully as the season progresses, that she can be in consideration also for the leagues player.
If there was such a thing as secondary assists, I think Nighthawk probably would have a better chance here. She always plays the pass that ends up leading to the pass that scores the goal.
Yeah.
But I think it is Berger. She just showed up and we were good, and then she's just putting us into great territory because she just went 9 games unbeaten since she got here. So it's not like I mean, it started also around the same time as Stevens was starting to get starts, but Berger's just been spectacular, and she's changed the way this team is played, and they're just playing with so much confidence because they know they have an outlet with her, and they can play back to her anytime, and she's always going to make the right read. 99.9% of the time, she's going to make the right read. And I think Sonnet is a healthy 23%. I think she's in the conversation.
Agreed.
But yeah, so from there, now Gotham is heading into the mid-season, and there's tournaments, there's other things going on. It doesn't look like teams are starting to sign national team replacement players, or maybe there is none left since the Super League is taking all the players. Because all those players that were on that level are all now filtering into teams, which is interesting. So Gotham does have a roster spot open with Sinead going onto injury reserve. Is there anything that this team needs, even though this is considered a super team?
I think something you've been honing in is just health. Like if players can come back healthy, right? Like then I think, I mean, it's a beautiful roster to see on paper, but then when you look at the players who are out, then it's like, then you can become concerned. And now that, David's going to be leaving, Nicewanger is going to be leaving, I don't know, maybe another defender potentially. I mean, I love this squad, and I think the chemistry of everyone is so good. But if if players aren't healthy, then we'll need to, it becomes harder, obviously, to pick and plug.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this. So the defense, we are losing pretty much our entire defense for the mid part of the season.
Right.
Bernini will probably be with Brazil. You have Sonnet, you have Davidson, you have Nicewanger gone. So that leaves, I mean, with Kelly O'Hara, who knows when she's coming back? These are pretty thin backline, but good enough. I mean, you have Lopez, you have Hyatt, you have Bell, you have Freeman. So it's not too out of the realm of being solid. And if you pick up a player, when those players come back, are they not going to get minutes? One of those things. Midfield, I think this team is good. Obviously, Ryan, Sheehan, Martin, as good as you can get. And then you got McCall Zerboni, a 4-time NWSL champion, off the bench.
Happy to have her back.
Yeah, she's been awesome. And so I think midfield we're good. I think we could probably use another attacker. I mean, what team doesn't need another attacker? But I think with Stengel and with Stevens, I think that's a good backup. But yeah, I think it could use another attacker that's more in the Midge Purse kind of role that we don't have with Taylor Smith and Midge Purse, and maybe a wide player. That's the only thing I think of. Because obviously we're good with goalkeepers.
I love our goalies.
Yeah. So that's all I got. So Noela, we are heading into the second half of the season, and it has been chaos so far. It's going to be chaos the rest of the season. Olympics, Liga MX summer tournaments, Champions Cup, playoff push. Are you ready for this?
I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. I hope the players are excited too. I think this is going to be like a really, really fun summer for a lot of them, just in terms of opportunities, right? New exposure, new experiences.
Yeah, I haven't really plotted out how we're going to cover the Olympics this year. We'll see what happens. It's going to be fun.
Mhm.
A lot of shows, a lot of stuff going on. So we need you around for the rest of the season, Noela.
Yes.
Counting on you.
Excited.
Very good. All right, fans. We will see you at the game on Sunday against Seattle. It's going to be another. This one actually could be rainy, right? We might get some rain this Sunday.
Yes, I think so.
All right. So hopefully no thunderstorms, but rain is okay at this point. We'll take it. So, all right. We will see you next week. Let's go. Welcome to episode 107 of Soccer Over Gotham. This is the mid-season award show. We have a great show for all of you. On this episode, Gotham FC battles but falls short against the Spirit despite playing man down. It was a 2-0 loss at home. Gotham gets robbed 2 weeks in a row on the goals of the week. We will discuss how to rectify this issue. Then the Olympic roster dropped today. So who's in, who's out, who's kind of in? Gotham FC's fighting spirit was on display, and we will discuss the positives and negatives and cough the ref on this one. So we'll talk about some crazy league news. Then we look forward to Gotham bouncing back against Seattle. Segment 2 is the mid-season award show. What a ride it has been, and we're going to try to make sense of all of this chaos. Ruby has the week off, but it is still the super team. Noela is here with me. So Noela, how are you?
I'm doing great, Gary. It's always great to be back working with you guys, getting to talk soccer, getting to talk Gotham FC. Got the Olympics right around the corner, so just an exciting time to be a soccer fan.
I know. Just we'll get into it in the season award show, but wow, it's going to be a snowball effect pretty soon. Even though we think that we're going to get some time off, but tournaments and craziness, it never stops.
Never stops.
Yeah, I have 3.5 semesters to go, and I'm excited about it. So far, so good. As long as I keep on my pace, I'll be done hopefully by March next year, and then I can seek therapy and get myself right again.
Oh, no.
Go to live on top of a mountain and just be at peace.
There's always a PTSD of finishing school. I still have nightmares of thinking, oh, I have papers due, and I'm not in school anymore.
Yeah,
there's nothing for me to be afraid about.
Yeah, and I know I probably hasn't you guys yet in New Jersey, but I'm over here in Pennsylvania, and this storm is rolling through here. It's like 60-mile-an-hour winds, and the rain's coming down pretty quickly. So hopefully it lightens up before it gets to New Jersey. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So let's get going before the power kicks out on me. All right, let's talk about some team news. So first, I just want to air some grievances. So first, on Twitter, on X, Ella Stevens and now Macy Bell in back-to-back weeks has lost. Well, they won the Twitter poll for goal of the week, but they ended up not getting the goal of the week because on Instagram they were out liked or whatever the heck they got going on over there. Instagram is not real. It's not a real place. It's a fake place with fake pictures and fake votes. Yes. Twitter is the real. I'm going to put a post up tomorrow that's going to say we're the Twitter champions.
Oh my God.
It's craziness.
I don't know why they keep outweighing one platform over the other, and then you become discouraged. I know a lot of people do like Instagram for the easiness of the likes, and you kind of pull it up, and I think it's a lot smoother than Twitter's polls. But they gotta confer someone. They have to or come up with a third platform. Maybe I don't know. It's been way too close.
For better or 99% of the time for worse, Twitter is a real place. People share their real opinions. On Instagram, people just fake everything over there. Sorry, Ruby. But so Twitter is the real poll. So we won that. So I'm taking it over. All right, calm down. All right, so now we have a good thing today, which is the Olympic roster drop, and there is a ton of Gotham players on there, probably better than we kind of expected. We got Tierna Davidson, Crystal Dunn, Rose Lavelle, Jenna Neiswanger, and Emily Sonnet have been named to the U.S. Women's National Team Olympic roster today, and then Lynn Williams was announced as an alternate player. Your initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts, I was surprised by Lynn Williams and Alex Morgan being omitted. I think that out of a player that you think will represent the U.S. and kind of is emblematic of the U.S. team, you kind of think of those two players. And so it's been, I think, tough to have this like weird like phasing out like area. And with Hayes coming in and her wanting to implement this new style of play, I'm a little concerned, frankly, because of the lack of experience, especially in the midfield section. Like, I was looking at the international caps, and it's just it's such a small area. And when you're playing the system that the US likes to play, that everything has to run through that midfield. It has to be a very smooth transition. Your players need to be on the same page with one another. If they don't have like a lot of experience with a lot of the girls, like they don't play with each other at the club level. So that's going to be something else that I'm looking to see. How quickly will those players, those three players specifically, right, link up with each other and be able to connect plays, because their group is a tough one. Like they're. I mean, Zambia has a strong team. Germany has a strong team. Australia, even though there's no Sam Kerr, they're still going to be a strong contender to play against. And everyone now is. I think every team now is aware that the U.S. is human. I think they used to always kind of be looked at as this like super team, as this like champion of champions that can never be touched. And the past few years have obviously shown that that's not true, that they are very much human. They are very much capable of mistakes or capable of like lack of connectivity. So I don't know. I'm excited for Crystal Dunn. I'm so happy that she's listed as a forward. But that midfield, that was my initial thought, that the midfield looked. I was a little concerned about it.
I'm with you on all that. I think with it's just an 18-person roster, right? So it's just multiple players are going to get left off, but I agree with you on all that. I do think it's just a solid roster. I do think there's a lack of veteran presence. Obviously, with Andy Sullivan on this roster, which is another veteran there, and I guess it's Sam Coffey's spot to lose now. But yeah. But I'm just glad to see all these Gotham players on there, and Lynn's start to the season has been a bit off because she's been injured twice at least, and so I can see her as an alternate, but I'm glad that she's at least in the conversation, still there. But other than that, I mean, let's go Gotham, right?
No, of course, it's the Gotham national team at this point.
It is true. So let's jump over to this game, because this game was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. It was. So we all know this. If you're listening to this from far away, New Jersey and New York was on a crazy heat wave last week. It was 95 to 97 like every day. And the game was originally set for 1:30, but then the day before it got pushed back till 6 p.m. And there was still 8,800 people in attendance, which is great. Great. I'm glad they came out. And then Gotham is at the end of a 3-game week, 9 games unbeaten. And then the clash of the number 3 and number 4 teams in the table. Washington has won 4 out of their last 5. Bethune, the rookie, has taken the league by storm with 8 assists coming into this game, which is pretty darn crazy. She's a special player. And this injury list doesn't get any shorter. It seems like we take somebody off, add somebody on, and we're 9 deep again. A third of the roster is out once again. Nothing really jumps out at you other than Lynn Williams is still on there. And then you have Ella Stevens is on as questionable, but she did practice in full, which was awesome. And she did make it into this game. But just your thoughts on this team never seeming to get healthy.
It's tough because these players they have such a chaotic schedule, and then they're called out to do international duty, which is always very tough in terms of managing themselves. It's disappointing, but unfortunately, I think it is part of the sport where it's like you're going to get hurt, you're going to have some tweaks, just like small pulls here and there sometimes that are. And I think in a game like this where you're playing at home and you understand, like speaking from Amoros's position, right? Like you understand the heat conditions, you're understanding like what the environment is. I think he's right to sometimes be a little more conservative, perhaps, in terms of like, if someone is questionable, maybe just sit them out. Or if someone is feeling like they can play, maybe put them questionable first. And then, as we saw with Stevens, then, see what we can do from there. So unfortunate, but I think a part of the sport too. So.
Yeah, I think he's done as well as he can. He does seem to do that. He's pulled players out if they are showing signs of that, because it's, he understands it's a long season. So,
right.
Especially with all these tournaments and stuff going on. And despite having a third of the roster out and some players like Esther and Williams on there, and Purse and O'Hara and Edmonds and them, we still had a ridiculous lineup. I mean, Berger has been amazing. We'll talk about her in the the midseason award show about a couple times. We had Freeman at right back, which I think is really interesting. We're definitely going to talk about that. Sonnet, Davidson in the center defense. Nice mark on the left. The midfield of Sheehan, Martin, and Lavelle, and then Dunn, Stengel, and Ryan across the front. I'm just curious your thoughts on this national team heavy lineup.
No, it's incredible to see how well these players have been working together. And I mean, obviously, their performance at club is a big reason why they are and eventually called up. Davidson has been such a strong presence. The defensive line, no matter who is out on the fullback position, I feel like is always very strong and comfortable with her possessing the ball, playing out of the back. And I have enjoyed actually Sonnet in that position as well. I think we'll talk about it later in terms of the first goal being scored. A little unfortunate there with the error, but I thought she was also a very strong presence as a center back in this game.
Yeah, it's a solid lineup. With Bernina's lack of playtime lately, that's I think something we're definitely going to talk about. It's very interesting. I'm not sure what to make of it, but I love Freeman, and I think she's been an excellent outside back. It's just interesting. And then, yeah, I mean, 9 players out is just tough. So the first half of this game. So I think the first thing you should note in this game is that how physical it was. Washington was on the front foot from the beginning. A lot of hits. A lot of shots, and the ref was letting a lot go early, and that sets the stage for a lot of what happened later. And then it gives Gotham problems early on. Into like the first 5 to 10 minutes, Gotham was really just kind of swimming with it. But they dominated from like the 10th minute to about the 25th minute ish, and one poor turnover. Sonnet leaves the back line exposed. Bethune is behind. She's left onside by Davidson. Brown hits from the outside the box. I mean, it's completely against the run of play. It's frustrating to watch that, but is what it is. And then Yasmin gets a yellow in the 39th minute for a foul, and then gets checked for a head injury, which I think that was a foul. But oh well, she had to leave the pitch. And then there was a miscommunication between the ref, the side ref, and then Yaz about coming back onto the field. She comes onto the field. She gets her second yellow, and then Gotham goes down a player right before half, and it just seems like everything's going wrong. But despite that, Washington had 0 touches inside Gotham's 18-yard box, so that's not too bad. Your thoughts?
I think it played out much how we had anticipated. Like this very much started off as a game between two teams that are back-to-back in the standings and looking to prove themselves. Mm-hmm. I was really, really impressed with Ryan actually before her dismissal, because she had such great plays linking up with Stengel and just other players in terms of putting them in dangerous positions to attack on goal. That 1v1 that Stengel kind of had, I believe around the 6th or 7th minute, was, I think, could have been a more dangerous situation. Unfortunately, she does. I know she was very frustrated about the yellow card.
Yaz should have done a little bit better to not come on so early. She has to know that. I know she wants to go back on and help her team, but those things, it happens. But this ref did not have a good performance this game at all. It seemed to be very inconsistent with his calls. And Ryan going out for her head injury, she got the ball first, and then the player goes straight through her with her head. And it was after the ball had already left her head, so it was late, and it hit her in the 6-yard box. And she's sitting up, and she's going like, "Where's the card? Where's the foul?" She should have got that at least. So yeah, it was craziness. When you play with a higher line like Gotham does, mistakes bite you. And this is kind of funny because on Twitter, I do the post-game stat thread, and I've been remarking that Sonnet has been gone 9 games without a yellow card, which is good. I'm not saying she's gone long periods before without getting yellow cards, but I think for this particular team, early in the season when everybody wasn't on the same page, she's not afraid to take a yellow card if a player's in a bad position.
Break up plays. Yeah.
But this was the first time she's been in a bad position. She put herself in that bad position. So she did try to grab the player, but they broke free. So yeah, that was craziness. She hasn't made a mistake like that since early in the season. So,
but also, credit to Croy, because it was just such a great read on the play, and her ball to Brown was spot on. Like, had put her in such an excellent position to be able to finish the goals. And so, and ultimately, sometimes soccer is played that way in terms of, can you capitalize on the other team's mistakes? And they very much did that. They were quick to read the play and quick on that counterattack, and were able to expose Gotham's mistake.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about Yasmin Ryan, she was not only good going forward, but she added another layer of defense to Rodman, and Rodman was quiet the whole first half that Ryan was on the field. So I feel like when Rodman's on the field, it's usually you have Neiswanger and then you have Williams, and that's enough two-way play to shut her down. And then Ryan was doing her best Lynn Williams impression, going back and forth and playing on both sides of the ball. I think she did really good, and we're so disappointed for her. In the second half, Gotham's a little slow to get their formation together. They come out in a sort of a 3-back with Davidson, Sana, and Freeman. Jenna's pushing more into the midfield, and then without Ryan shadowing Rodman, Jenna's tracking back, and she tracks back a little bit too centrally, and Rodman's still staying out wide. She finds the ball at the top of the box, blasts one on the far post, and they are up 2-0, and it's frustrating. I think for the rest of the second half, I think despite being down a player, Gotham is acting like they're in control, and they were on control of the ball most of the second half. They created chances. Washington kind of sat back a little bit, even with an extra player, and Gotham gets a chance to get back in this game with the first penalty of the season for them. And Stengel can't put it away, and it just was not Gotham's night.
Yeah, I was very, very impressed with Gotham's showing in the second half. The 3-back, for me personally, I was very much impressed with, because when a team does lose a player, it's quite easy to want to play more defensively and kind of just hold a more defensive presence until a counterattack opportunity presents itself. But they very much went out, set out the pace, were in control of possession, and like you said, were able to come up with a productive product in terms of like putting enough pressure on the defensive line to earn a penalty kick. And unfortunately, there are plays like that just happen, that just the ball just won't go in, or the keeper also was very much aware, I think, of like Stengel's penalty shootout like habits and stuff, and so she read her body language really, really well. And I mean, the second goal for Washington was a stunner. So it comes with, I think, when you want to play a possessive and an aggressive format, but you're playing one player down, ultimately you're either going for a tie or a win, or you're just going to let in another goal. And I think that was unfortunate, but that's the cards they were dealt with.
Yeah, great. I think I've mentioned as a rule that I usually don't talk about refs unless it's like completely over the top and warranted, because usually like refs are human, and you just kind of have to just play along to their strengths or weaknesses and how they call the game. It's just the way it is, right? And they're human; they don't get everything right. But this one was pretty rough, especially during the penalty kick where he let Kingsbury just stand there and then slow walk her way back into the net, and it was a little bit egregious. He probably could have gave her a card for that, but this ref was just not going to give us anything. So, is what it is. I mean, 1 loss in 10 matches is not too bad. Considering, everything that happened, the King team played quite well despite the circumstances, despite the heat as well. I mean, Washington didn't have a midweek game, so they had that going for them. And then the team didn't look tired. It didn't have much bad body language, and the team kept fighting, and that's what you want to see. Any player notes?
I think Jenna Neiswanger has been excellent in this game throughout the season. I'm going to talk about her later in the midseason awards portion of the show. I think she's just been such a strong like second season showing, and I've just been really, really happy to see her continue to work down on the flank and provide an outlet for our team's attack. So I'm biased to the fullback position for obvious reasons, but I think she's proving to a lot of different fans, a lot of different players, a lot of just observers of the U.S. League that she very much is a high caliber player and deserves an opportunity to shine at the international level. So I've been very, very happy to see her play.
Yeah, we'll get that later, but she's a prototypical left back in the modern game. She does everything right, and she can go both defense, offense. She can cut inside. She plays beautiful balls over the top. She's just an incredible player. Incredible. And going back, I mean, I know this is we'll talk about this in a minute, but Stengel was hustling in this one. She is a prototypical number 9 in this game, where she's just holding up play, knocking balls down, involving her teammates in the play, taking on players, cutting back. She was excellent, just absolutely excellent in this game. And, it just thinks that she missed that penalty. It knocks her down a little bit.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts. Any final thoughts?
I think this isn't. I mean, it hurts obviously to lose in this manner, in terms of at the hands of a red card and at the hands of a ref who, just wasn't on the same page as his team and wasn't really truly, I think, present in this game overall. But, their unbeaten streak had been indicative, I think, of how well they were meshing throughout the season. And again, we'll talk about it later, about how they had started off very slowly and then finally kind of got into the right groove of which players kind of worked well together and are working well together. So I thought it was ironic also to note that our last loss had also come to the hands of the Spirit, another 2-0 loss.
Yes.
So maybe a future matchup that we have to be careful for.
Well, we're done with them for the regular season.
Later on in the playoffs, we don't know what's gonna look like just yet.
Yeah. But Gotham is having the best start in club history. This is it's been a great start, even though it did feel like it started slow, but they're 2 wins away from their club record of 10 wins, and they're 4 points away from last year's point total, which is pretty crazy. And we're just over halfway in the season. This team just needs to get healthy. Post-game quotes, Davidson on regrouping after a 3-game week. She said, I think emotionally regrouping. We have a few days off after a very long physical week. I think everyone is talking about take the time to recharge mentally, physically, and emotionally, and ready to come back and kind of just keep rolling. That's the nature of the game. It's the nature of the season. It's a very long season. And no matter what the results we have, whether the losses, we have to turn the focus to the next game. And quite frankly, I think we can take a lot of these games in terms of positives of the way we were playing, especially in the first half and the fight we had in the second half.
I think she's the perfect example of what our captain and leader should look like, should kind of exude, in terms of course, you're not going to be content with a loss, but you are also cognizant of the reality of you're playing 3 games in 1 week. You understand how intense the heat has been here in New York, New Jersey. And I think this is a perfect response, I think, to give the team motivation heading over to the Seattle game, to be able to say, okay, we turn the page. We'll be able to flip over.
Yeah, not everything's going to go your way. 9 games unbeaten is a good run. Sometimes it just doesn't fall your way. However, I think she's right. You just got to turn your attention to Seattle, and she's right. There was a lot of positives in this game, and if I broke it down on the post-game stats threads, but like looking at that first half where Washington had 45 passes in Gotham's half, they had no touches inside the 18. They were shutting down Rodman. They were shutting down everybody. It was a very good start to this game. Again, things went wacky, but it is what it is. On to Martin. She said on the team's chemistry after a loss, she says, our team always comes together. We do have great chemistry. And I mean, our response to this is going to even speak more to our chemistry and that what we're building here. So I'm excited for the game and on to the team's reaction next week.
Martin had another unsung hero of this game, I thought. I feel like she was very well in tune with Davidson and Sonnet in terms of connecting from the back moving forward. And I think she is absolutely right that this team has showed time and time again how much they lean on each other and how much they can depend on one another. And ultimately, I think that's such a strong indicator of if a team can bounce back, how much trust you have in your teammates, how much trust you have in the system, how much trust you have in your head coach. So I don't think they're too concerned about the loss. Again, a loss is something to be dealt with. You probably go back and look at the footage and the game film and want to break down, okay, what went wrong? What did we not capitalize? What did we not be able to execute better perhaps in the next game? But when you have a team that is so in tune and just friends, it sounds like the most like bizarre thing, but I feel like you can't overstate how important it is to be on the same page as your teammates in terms of like chemistry level. Like if you can be dependent and be strong on one another and get along with each other at a very nice like state, I feel like that we've seen from this team and the way they interact with one another, I think it's a showing for a championship team.
Certainly is. And you can definitely tell, like, when we interview the players, they definitely get along. They love talking about each other and building each other up. It's a good group. And they dealt with a lot this so far. In the last loss they had, they went on 9 undefeated runs, which is pretty good. That's a pretty good response. So hopefully we get another response just like that. Player of the game, the hero of the match was Nicewanger at 41%, Dunn at 18, Berger at 11, and Sonnet at 30%. Your thoughts?
Again, I thought she had an excellent game. Of course, shutting down Trinity Rodman is no easy task. And of course, forcing her to also have to defend you on the flip side when Jenna is going up, attacking, providing great opportunities for the team. I think well merited. I think also Single wouldn't have been a bad choice also, although I know she wasn't an option.
Mhm.
But I think a fair assessment.
Yeah, Stengel should have been on there. I was in the moment, and I was trying to head out, and there's little kids mobbing my seat for the
Oh my
autographs and
God.
stuff.
Yeah.
To be absent in the front row. So in my mind, the penalty was fresh, so I didn't put her on there. But
Got it.
so I'm going to go with Stengel just to make it right.
Okay.
Let's jump over some standings. Now, there is a separation like a normal season. Top teams, middle teams, bottom teams. And these top 5 teams are tough. KC, Orlando, Washington, Gotham, and Portland. They are showing up. And I think this is going to be the top 5, I think, at the end of the season. Just maybe in a different order. They're just flying. Then we had a hard run at some top teams, and now we're going to start facing some teams at the bottom of the table. Maybe we can start picking up points again, starting with this week. Gotham has a week to prepare, recover, and bounce back from the first loss and in the Anne-Katrine Berger era. That's a shame. And Seattle just came off of a road game on Wednesday. They played against a team that had 10 players for 80 minutes, and they still could not score. So they gave up 12 goals in the past 5 games. To be fair, 11 of them were against Orlando, KC, and Washington, which happens. And then they've only given up 1 goal in their last 2 games against the Sophia Smith-less Portland and then Racing. So they've had a pretty tough gauntlet of teams to go through. But your thoughts on this matchup, Noelle?
I think it's dependent also of which lineup Seattle comes out with. I know they've been kind of like rotating some players around, and I mean, I've always been a very big fan of Haitama's game, so I think she's going to be a player to very much have to watch over carefully. Fishlock and Quinn, I've really enjoyed seeing together work in the midfield. It's unfortunate for this team that they've started off so slowly and frankly poorly, because I think the expectations were a lot higher for them. But there is nothing more dangerous, I think, than a team in desperation. So nothing really can be taken for granted here. And I think if Gotham can go out and put out the performance and the grit that they showed in this previous game, then I think they're more than capable of earning 3 points.
I agree with you. This smells like a bounce back week. And we always know what the Rain wants to do is hit you with crosses, hit you with long balls. They are tops in the league in successful long passes. So if we play a high line, they could get behind us. It's going to all depend on how good our offense or forwards are at pressing the defense and letting them get balls out. So we will see. But otherwise, this is a game that Gotham should win, right? And good teams win the games they're supposed to win. So this should be one of those, especially at home. So what do we manifest in this week?
Of course, a home win, a bounce back, a strong showing. I'm manifesting a Stengel penalty kick successfully taken this week.
Okay, that's a good one. I've been off this year so far. I mean, I started off pretty hot, but like
yes,
once I get into the injury, I've been trying to manifest people off the injury list. It just has not happened. So the soccer gods are just like, nope, sorry. But yeah, I'm gonna go with 3 goals this week. Okay. Let's break the spell. Let's win. Let's get 3 goals on the board. If we get 3 goals on the board, we're winning. Simple as that.
I love it.
Yes. All right. Any random thoughts before we jump over to the midseason awards?
Nope. Ready to go.
Yeah, let's go. Hi, everyone. This is Gary. Thank you for listening and supporting our project. Here are other ways you can support the show and connect with us. First, word of mouth is everything. So please share our show with anyone who might listen. Also, please rate us 5 stars on Spotify and review us on iTunes. You can purchase our merchandise at the TeePublic store. Join in the conversation on Twitter at OverGothamPod and Instagram at SoccerOverGotham. Lastly, you can email your thoughts and questions at soccerovergotham@gmail.com. Once again, thank you. And you've had number 28 from the Ireland national team, and you had 33 for Gotham. Do any of those numbers mean anything to you?
I think last year when I signed here and was deciding on my number, any of the numbers I wanted were already taken, and 33 was significant for me personally, like just something I have with my family. I already have like a 33 tattoo, but I was also 33 that year, and I knew that year was going to be special for me in some way. And so I just chose that number. So it means something to me now, kind of more, but it didn't necessarily before.
But that goes through your journey a lot, where things mean a lot more now to you than they did before.
Yeah.